Welcome back, beautiful people, to another terrible unboxing on... On today's episode of Trey the Terrible Collector, we are going to be finishing up the X-Men Light Up Classics series. As we've stated a couple of times, this series was known for having a variant of every figure that was produced. So today we have the Ragin' Cajun himself, Remy LeBeau, GAMBIT. I mentioned this at the end of the last episode, but I'll reiterate now. If you have been watching X-Men 97 and you want to avoid any spoilers, or if you're looking to watch it sometime in the future and you want to kind of just like keep yourself unaware of what's happening in the show, you might want to skip this one. I do intend to talk about some of the things that have happened, not in any real detail, but I am not going to be avoiding spoilers. So last time I'm warning, spoilers, maybe. In this series, we have two variations of GAMBIT. The first one, which we'll bust open right away, is in his traditional suit. He's got his pink armor. He's got that blue kind of collar piece. His boots, they look metallic, and then he's got his brown trench coat. He does come with his signature bow staff, as well as a really neat trading card accessory. So we're going to put everything in, then we're going to kind of talk about all of it. So here we have what I would say is exactly what you should be looking for in a GAMBIT figure. He's got reasonable articulation. His jacket looks awesome. His hair is well sculpted. All of the paint is really good looking. Like all of the toys in this particular line, the little details are really, really, really nice. You've got the wrinkles in the coat on the back, on the sleeves that make it look like, fabric just draped over him instead of a plastic wonky nonsense. Now, this was the first GAMBIT that we unboxed. You will notice a few major differences. First, this jacket is made out of a deflated balloon, and it looks terrible. Secondly, his head is proportionally just absolutely tiny. And also, he doesn't really seem to fit in with the rest of the toys in the line. The first X-Men, the first line of X-Men toys in this series, they all fit really well together. Wolverine's a little bit smaller than everybody else. Apocalypse and Juggernaut are a little bit bigger than everybody else, but they all work. The second line kind of goes all over the place. Wolverine and Iceman and Magneto were all like appropriately sized. GAMBIT, Banshee, Forge, and even Mr. Sinister, who's a cool figure, they were all just like half an inch to 3/4 of an inch smaller than everybody else. And because they're such small figures, that little bit of difference really knocked it off. They looked weird and tiny. This particular GAMBIT is just everything about this one better. They also got rid of the kick feature and replaced it, because this is the Light Up series, with this dope attachment. So it makes it look like he's throwing the cards. I'm going to go ahead and just cross my fingers and hope it lights up. It does! Neat! Sick! So we've got some light up in there. That's really cool. But even if it didn't light up, having that just like kind of translucent plastic that shows the energy effect is pretty cool looking. Now, up to this point, we've had some really, really weird GAMBIT figures. In the I guess I don't even know what this line would be called. It was a box set, and they all had the traditional uniform. This has some really big positives. It has some negatives as well. His hair is sculpted really, really well. The body has some interesting paint on it, but there's nothing about this that screams GAMBIT. He doesn't have his jacket. He doesn't have a bow staff. He doesn't have his cards. It's just a GAMBIT head on a generic figure body. Excuse me. This figure does have really great articulation, which this one is pretty simple in its articulation, but simplicity is not always a bad thing when it comes to these figures. The other one that we have is the Age of Apocalypse version, which we unboxed on an episode that may never get released because it is it's a mess. I've been trying to edit it for about a year now. But this one is fine. It leans more into like where they start getting like almost like a sculpture where they're trying to have it posed in a very specific way, and there's not really a way to play with it. He's got all of his accessories just kind of like sit on him, and he's got to be posed in this way to make him stand up or do anything at all. He also, his face looks like he just farted and he's waiting for you to smell it, and he's very excited about the possibility of you getting some in your mouth. That being said, let's go ahead and unbox our second variant. This one is wearing the traditional blue and gold outfit like this version here, but he does have his cape over top. His boots and his the little details are all the same kind of details that are on this one, like the collar and the boots that have like the armored bits. So instead of it being like the generic gold and blue suit, it's one that's more tailored to his individual look. The coloring is like on all the other ones, just a little bit different. Like his jacket's a little bit darker, his hair is ever so slightly different, and his skin tone is even a little bit different too. Just little details that really add up to making a figure unique and relevant. The I don't know if I mentioned it before, the jacket does not come off because the arms are sculpted, whereas the back of the jacket is like just a piece of plastic, but the arms are sculpted to be part of it. This one also comes with a bow staff. Oh, take it easy there, homie. Also comes with a bow staff. And his cards are reddish instead of pink. Let's go ahead and pop that in and see how this looks. Bam! Oh man, 2 in a row that light up. Fantastic. Really neat. So that's really, really cool. GAMBIT is a big part of most X-Men fans who were reading comics or watching the show in the 90s. He wasn't a really big part of the movies or anything. He did briefly appear in the X-Men Origins Wolverine movie, but he wasn't in any of the mainline ones, and to be honest, that movie was the absolute worst. But if you were a fan in the 90s, Gambit was a big part of it. And in the recent show, he was a big part of like the emotional turmoil that we were going through. He was, spoilers again, killed halfway through the series, and that's like the emotional impetus for a lot of the characters going forward. And it did open up the possibility of him becoming Death in the next season. Death, the Horseman of Apocalypse. I would absolutely love a figure of that. That would be really neat, but I think that's hoping for a bit too much. As it is, though, this is, in my opinion, the definitive version of a Gambit figure. You've got the jacket, you've got the cards, you've got his distinct look and a cool variation on that distinct look, and everything about it just screams, this is a love letter to this character that is meant to look the way that he is, which is cool. And the rest of these, while some of them, there are positives about all 3 of them, none of them really nails that iconic feeling, that iconic look the way that these 2 do. And I think that they're just really, really exceptional figures. All right, that brings us to the end, so let's wrap it up. As always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and tell your friends if you think that they would like watching an old dude open up old toys, then this is the show for them. As always, y'all have been wonderful, and I have been terrible. We'll see you again soon.